Okay, if a Libra comes into your life, it is not random. A Libra comes into your life for internal justice. Okay, you might have grown up thinking or around family members, having a childhood where your voice necessarily didn't really matter. You felt that conflict in general was dangerous for your safety, like for expressing yourself or being who you are. If a conflict arises, it might have been somewhat traumatizing in a sense. You're prioritizing everyone else's feelings, everyone else's perspective, everyone else's idea of themselves over yours. And this creates like self dishonesty, like you're not honestly being expressing yourself, expressing your needs, expressing your values in this situation, expressing your opinion. What would you actually say if you weren't trying to anticipate their reaction? What would you actually say if you weren't trying to manage anyone else's feelings? So there's no explosion, so there's no fighting, so there's no arguments. So this Libra comes into your life, whether you like it or not, to teach you about self-honesty. Like, am I actually being treated fair in this relationship? Am I actually expressing my needs in this relationship, or am I prioritizing theirs so there's no issues, so there's no explosions, so there's no fights? I just want calm, I just want peace. No. There's no peace if your values, if your perspective, if your needs are not being validated, if they're not being prioritized too. You can compromise. There is a such thing as compromise. Yes, you can be considerate of other people, but are they being considerate of you? Are they being considerate of your needs, your perspective? Are you being fair to yourself? There might be situations where you're with a Libra and they're like, I don't know how I feel. What do you think? And then you say how you feel, and then later on they're like, I don't really like that outcome, or they like blow up on you later. They might like subtly punish you with silent treatment or things like that if because they don't actually express themselves either. They might actually put the responsibility back on you too, and then later get mad at you for it. Or they'll keep score and stuff without actually letting you know how they truly feel. That could also be a possibility. They might act like you're being unfair, or like you're not prioritizing them when they're not saying what they want. And if you're not speaking up about these things, it's just gonna continue. So they're teaching you internal justice. Like, how much are you betraying yourself in the sake of peace, or for the sake of peace, in the name of balance, when none of this shit is actually fucking balanced? So you need to stop negotiating against yourself. I don't deserve this. I should be treated better than this. They cannot keep putting